This is my signature Telecaster, the Jason Isbell model, Fender Telecaster. It's got right here my tattoo that we sort of use as our logo, and it's a little bit relict, and it's kind of like a 5960 custom Telecaster, except we put a black pickguard on it. And then the pickups are exclusive to this instrument. And this one's based on this bridge pickup from this 65 Tele, which is bizarre. So I have to show you this before this guitar makes sense. But somebody, apparently, one day this pickup came unwound. I think we were here.
1 year ago, yeah.
Yeah, a year ago. Michael took it over to Tim Shaw. And Tim got to looking at this, and Tim was like, this is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. So if you'll notice, the poles are flat. So somebody back in the 60s got this guitar and thought they needed flat poles and just took a mallet,
shaved them down,
and
or hit
hammered them down. And when they did, it caused the bottom of the pickup to come loose. And then also, is it the shielding that's missing, or they didn't pot it all the way?
They didn't pot it all the way.
So it's extremely microphonic. So like if it's plugged in, you can hear so loud when you tap on the pickguard. But I really love that sound. The pickup is super hot, and it's super microphonic. So like if you're in the studio for like wailing-y country stuff, it sounds great. Or if you like crank it and rock with it, it handles that really well. But it's just an accident.
That's a beautiful mistake, man.
Yeah, and that's what they patterned that bridge pickup on.
Did they take it apart to look and see how the...
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And put it back as close to the way it was as possible. Tim's like, I'm not going to fix this all the way because it sounds unique, you know. And then the neck profile came from this guitar also. And then recently, we've got a song called Death Wish on the new album on Weathervanes.
Killer single. Congrats on the new record, by the way.
Thank you so much.
And the nomination.
Thank you. I played a baritone, so I had Fender put a baritone neck on the signature Telecaster, which I think Fender can put a bari neck on just about any new
it's the same
Tele
pocket,
body.
Right?
Yeah, same pocket. And it intonates great, stays in tune, and sounds really, really good with those Tele pickups.
Just because I'm noticing right out of the gate, it's a bari, but looks like a very manly gauge.
Yeah, it's a big bari gauge.
Okay.
This is not for the blues, you know. This is this is when you're not going to bend anything, you know.
13 to 7.
It's like a 100-pound compound bow.
Yeah, it's pretty stout, but it sounds so cool, you know. And a bari is like playing something sort of modern on a baritone makes me really happy. Really fun. And then here's the old 335, 61 dot neck. This was the first really good vintage guitar that I got. I got it from Dave Cobb, and he immediately regretted selling it to me. But this one, besides frets and tuners, pretty much stock.
Didn't he go out and buy almost the identical one?
He didn't even go in the house. Yeah, he took the money and went directly to the guitar store and bought one almost just like that one that he kept for a long time. I think he traded it in on another 335, actually.
I can relate. That feeling is awful when you sell a piece of gear and immediately say, oh,
yeah. And Dave, you know, he's a super nice guy, so sometimes he'll be like, man, I'll take whatever for it. And then afterward, he's like, I should not have done it. You can see there's a picture of us when his face is just, he's so sad.
Just crestfallen.
And then over here, we got some Telecasters. This is the 53 Blackgard. And it was super clean last time y'all saw it. I have roughed it up a little bit, but it's all my own wear, which makes me really happy. Like this spot here, and most of these. I've never noticed
how thin it gets right here.
Yes, it does. Wild. Yeah, and I mean, you know, the 65's not that way. Like after they transitioned to the veneer, they changed this angle.
A little more beef.
So a lot of Tele players back in the day would put those little weights. You know, they would clip those little like chrome-plated metal weights right here to add a little bit of mass to the headstock. But in 65, up until about halfway through the year, there's a little bit more meat right here, and some people think that sounds better.
Interesting.
It's definitely different. It's a little thicker and it sustains a little more, but this is just your flat pole Blackgard, and it sounds exactly like you would expect, and still got the old three-way wiring with the bass cap on the front, you know, almost useless, but it's old school. And the frets, when I got it, it had original frets on it, and it had never been apart. The neck had never been off the body, so it still had the old neck angle with these suckers sticking way up, you know. And
cut your hand up.
Yeah, so all I've done is had frets put on it and then played the hell out of it. And it's starting to get wear from my hands, which is kind of an incredible privilege to have a guitar that's this old that still feels like it's yours and not somebody, you know, who played it long before you were born. I love that guitar, and more recently I got this guy in Emerald City. Is that right? Yeah, this came from Seattle. This is a 54, so they transitioned the pickguard color, but not really much else. The finish is really similar, and it's still got your flat pole bridge pickup. This one's been played quite a bit, but this one I call the Winter Soldier because, as Michael discovered over the summer, when the finish sort of wears off of these Fender necks, the humidity will soak in. And it got to the point where the truss rod wasn't cutting it anymore. So we had to take it out, you know, take it off the road and let it sort of dehumidify and get it back right. And then
throw it on top of a pizza oven or something? How'd you get it to suck out?
I won't be bringing it, well, we put it in a dehumidifier.
Totally.
I won't be bringing it out in the summertime anymore. This will be an indoor.
Which is wild because this neck seems real thick to me.
It's thick, but the finish is gone.
Yeah.
So it just leaves it open. Yeah, and it starts to move. But it sounds fantastic, and it's really fun to play. And this one's got a little bit more space between the E string and the bottom of the fingerboard. That one there, if I'm not careful,
pop it down.
I'll pop it off. Yeah, but this one's a little more comfortable, and it's got a slight V almost. They're just about to get into that.
It's played for sure.
Yeah, I love this.
Do you know what happened back on the back side of it? It's got an interesting mark.
I know, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Huh.
Maybe a stand. Somebody used it looks like a stand with a t-shirt that was indigo dyed. And they hadn't washed the t-shirt yet, and they put it over a guitar stand and then put the guitar in the guitar stand. That's what I'm going to tell myself happened, but anyway. And then Baltimore, Garrett Park guitars in Maryland. I got this from them, and this is a 58 with 57 features, so it's got a V neck and a little bit more of the 57 sunburst, the real thin. Yeah.
Love how almost lemony.
Yeah, man, this is, 57's kind of the year for these. So this one I got, it was a little bit less expensive than a 57 would have been, and it does all the same things. And it's certainly been played, but not abused. And, it's great because it's that bright, super trebly Strat sound.
Right.
For fingerstyle stuff, like this one I had the 5-way switch put in because that out of phase spot is just perfect on this guitar. And it doesn't have the slab.
That allows you to have a tone control on the
Yes, exactly, yeah. And it doesn't have the slab like this one. This is a 60, and this one I've had for quite a while. This is kind of my main Strat. But it softens up. So like this pickup on this guitar is magic. It's Stevie Ray and it's Hendrix and it's all that. But the slab definitely has a different sonic quality than just the maple neck. But yeah, this guitar sees a lot of action. I play this one a lot. This is kind of like the one I dreamed of when I was a little kid, Somebody put a snark on it. You gotta watch.
Talked about that.
We did. Yeah, you gotta watch. Those stickers are on the outside. And then here is the Goldtop. This one has seen a great deal of use, especially on Weathervanes on the new record.
What a beautiful guitar.
This guitar is so fun. This one came from Tom Crandall's shop in New York. And never been broken.
What year was it?
53. And I think this was the one that Larry Craig did for Jason over at Fretboard Journal, I think. He did a piece on Larry and talked him into putting this bridge on it. The crazy thing about this is that bridge has got to go so low that you're just almost
sunken.
Yeah. So it sounds great. I mean, this is kind of the sleeper hit of the whole rig.
Yeah.
It got so much use on that last record, and you can do everything from real stratty kind of Gilmore sounds to Mark Ford Black Crowes fuzziness to everything in between.
Man, I love these early Goldtops once they start cracking the green in there. It's that,
that oxidizing.
Yeah, I love it.
And it feels so good. Like, this is really good for like macro, like close-up photos. These guitars always look so cool.
Now, are you having to tweak on these quite a bit, or are they all pretty hunkered in?
I mean, they're all pretty close.
This month it's not so bad, right?
Yeah, this month is great. It's summertime. It gets a little wild.
Dead of winter,
just
I'm
with
sure,
humidity
too,
changes and.
We played a lot of outdoor shows this summer, and it was rough on some of those. It's hot. But yeah, they're kind of settled in right now. Feel like it.
Oh,
61.
Yeah, little 61, huh?
Yeah.
Do you keep this just pinned down?
Yeah,
'Cause they're
yeah,
kinda
that's
useless,
blocked.
right?
Yeah, it's good for weight. It's good for balancing.
Man, I've heard some arguments that might do something just
Well,
for the mass of it. Like,
I mean,
for
it
sustain.
definitely keeps these from being as headstock heavy
Yeah.
as they tend to be. If you put an ABR on there, sometimes it gets like this.
Yeah.
I don't know about sustain. I just love how it sounds. I don't know if it's because of this or
Yeah.
just a combination of all the parts, but it's got a good thin, wide neck. You know, the 61, the
Pretty
speed
flat
neck
radius.
is
Yeah, you're
flat.
screaming
you
on
can
that
haul
thing.
ass on it, and you know the top's kind of gone to the hamburger meat, and the back's still pretty red.
Yeah.
And this one, you know, it's interesting to me because it's very clear that somebody has played this guitar a lot, and they have played probably a lot of lead guitar on
Yeah.
here because right in here is
Right
the
in
wear.
there, yeah.
But they never dropped it,
Nope.
never knocked it off a stand. No heel crack, no neck crack.
Maybe you know, what year did Gibson start doing the volute? Because I feel like those really helped
Yeah,
the
I
neck
think it
stability.
did.
You know?
I don't know. When did they start doing that? I've
70s?
seen
I'm
some
not
pretty
sure.
early guitars that have that, but some of them I think may have been like repairs.
Right,
That people
where
had
somebody
sent
added.
back and they put it on there
Sure.
at the factory.
I've always loved it. I like the way it looks. I think
It
it's real
looks
cool.
great. Yeah, it looks super cool.
Like stingers and volutes are.
Here's a crazy one.
Slick.
This is not one that you normally see. 1960.
Ooh.
This is a Red Beauty, one of I think 6.
I was gonna say this is
made.
the only one I've ever seen.
Gary Gand has one. Neil Sean had one, and he I think recently sold it at auction. And there's a couple more out there. But the story is that Hagstrom ordered these for their shop in Sweden. I think they got like 3 in 59 and 3 in 60, and got them this color to match that Hagstrom red. And I think Gibson had been putting this on mandolins before that, like in the 50s, and they just made a few guitars like this. But it was supposed to be a Black Beauty, and they just factory
Yeah.
red. And in
Crazy.
1960, and this one also doesn't have a headstock brake. It still had the Fretless Wonder frets on it when I got it, so I had to do something about that.
Sure. They've just been chewed all the way down, huh?
Yeah, and they were gone to start with. You know, they thought that would be faster. And it was if you weren't bending any strings. If you're playing like Les Paul or something, it worked pretty well.
Right.
But you can't
you're
start
moving.
bending on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Um,
imagine even slides. Sometimes you're hitting.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Clicking
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But this guitar's cool. You know,
That's
it doesn't
real
have
cool.
the maple cap, so it doesn't have that brightness that a standard Les Paul has. But man, this neck pickup is very bright and sounds really good by itself with a little drive. It's heavy. I don't know. We were talking last night about either this one or the Goldtop are my heaviest Les
Yeah.
Pauls. They're about the same.
Are we in 10-pound territory yet?
I think
Probably
we're
creeping
12.
up on 11.
Yeah,
Damn, really?
I think probably 11.
Well, that
yeah.
extra pickup too,
They're
probably.
pretty beefy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They both have a little bit of extra metal on them.
And then here is here's the
Oh.
the crown jewel. That's the red eye.
You know what I didn't
saw that
notice the last
last
time is obviously where the tag was.
Yeah.
You know, the color stayed, but also under the.
Yep, and under the knobs.
If you really
the
look
knob
close,
shadow.
yeah. Almost looks
Rings.
like brisket under there. Or something,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Oh.
Yep, but it's still doing what it's supposed to do.
I don't
This
even
one
wanna
doesn't
breathe on
move
it.
much. It's
No,
funny.
that
This,
is very stable.
this stays in place, you know. It's been one piece for so long. There's a few little scratches that I did. I remember when I did them. Some of these right here were like at the Levitt Shell in Memphis, and I had some sharp buttons. And, you know, but it's mine. At least I didn't knock it down and break it, you know.